Hell yeah, you are. That was a good stretch over there. You feel better about it on Thursday. I hope what I've done is design assessments that are where you demonstrate what you know, but at the same time you also don't have panic and fear the entire time. Like, I think a good level of anxiety is good. Keeps you sharp, keeps you on your toes, keeps you from doing endos like I do. But at the same time, I don't want you paralyzed with fear. So I think it'll be good for you. You can't see that. I think it'll be good for you. So now, I love hearing that. So now what I'm going to do is we're going to talk about some statistics. We're going to talk about some statistics. This will be a good exam review too as well. Before break here. Max just turned 6, but this is the best data I've had so far. His 2-year checkup gave me the best data to play with. So I've been using his 2-year checkup.
Do you know they say that if you double the height at the 2-year checkup, that is supposed to be the full-grown kid?
Kidding me?
No, that's what they said when they sent this.
Crap. I didn't bring his height data, I brought his weight data.
Oh, no.
But I've also heard that if you take the mother and father's heights, average them at 2.5, that's close to what the no.
Sorry, we're learning in psychology, and touch equals growth. So kids that are touched more grow more. And height of parents might feel like genetic. It's one piece of it, but it's not everything.
Touch me, and I'm still only 5'3".
If you want him big, hold him alive. If you want him to be a jockey, sell suit.
I don't know if that's true.
I don't think that's true at all.
I'm pretty small, and I think I was slow pretty well.
Now, hang on! I love what I just heard. I'm so glad I got that recorded.
Awesome!
I am so glad. I am so glad we just got that recorded. Because what I just heard was an absolutely American response to a data point. It totally was. First of all, we heard that if you double the 2-year checkup, that's essentially how big they're going to be. It was never stated, but of course we know that that average has a margin of error. It was not given to me, of course, because we don't know off the top of our heads. We have to go back and find the research study, which we could easily do via some Googling, which we can maybe do at the break. That's fine. Perfect. I brought up, wow, that's interesting, because the research study I had seen shows if you average the mom and dad's heights and add 2.5 inches, that's roughly what the kid's going to be. And immediately it was no! It's this. Now, remember, all 3 of these things could be saying the same thing. They're not necessarily saying different things. It might just be 3 different paths to getting to the same thing. It might very well be that mid-parental height I described, mom plus dad, average plus 2.5, is already in the 2-year development range, in which case doubling it is going to put us right at the exact same place anyway. And it might be, again, I'd have to see all these studies side by side to see how the methods were done. It might be that they're all getting us to the same. Then Patrick chimed in, which I loved. Because I blah, 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 and this happened. That's death by anecdote. Careful with that one. This happens so very, how many times have you told somebody, well, I read this study that says that, if I drink a bunch of coffee, my hair's going to get all stringy and, I drink coffee every day, blah, blah, blah. That doesn't prove or disprove anything. That's one data point, which very well could be a what? That could very well be an outlier. So it doesn't, not hard on you, not hard on you, Patrick. It just doesn't disprove or prove anything. I know you were saying it should be kind of comical and funny, but it happens all the time. It happens all the time where it's, I knew somebody that. That's great. That means you knew the tail of the bell curve. We're talking about the middle of the bell curve, thank you. Which is all we can do. All we can do is talk about the middle of that curve. If we base everything on the tails of the bell curve, we're no better than Jared from Subway. Right? Jared. We're going to talk about Jared today anyway. But the point is that if you base your arguments based on outliers, you don't have much of an argument, because you're basing an entire argument on something that only happens 1 or 2% of the time, rather than something that happens 95% of the time. Great little completely random discussion. I like it. It was great though, because it shows how Americans deal with statistics. And I think it's a function of how we learn in math classes. No, you can't be right because this is the way to do it. That is essentially, I read this paper and it said this, and I read this paper and it said this, and I read this other one and it says this. That does not mean that 2 are wrong and 1 is right. Or they're all wrong and something else is right. It just means that we have 3 different ways of measuring something that might or might not agree. And based on more data, we might get different results. Good, hold those thoughts, because they tie into matches to your checkup. Here is what we learned at Max's 2-year checkup. I'll have this posted for you guys. You don't have to write down this if you don't want to. So Max, 2-year checkup. In his weight, it was found he was the 80th percentile for weight, 90th percentile for length, and my personal favorite, head girth. 85th percentile, my personal favorite, head girth. My distance around. I guess distance across, but it's easier to measure around than across. Okay, so far? Good. So, you can see my son here. It's kind of hard to see scaled-wise how big he was. And actually, I didn't tell you how big he was, did I?
No.
I never told you his height. This is why I said, Madeline, I didn't bring the data that you're actually quoting right there. I didn't bring the data. I brought his percentile data. Which is what?
80th.
What does that mean?
It means that 20% of the people are taller than he is.
Okay, good. What a percentile is one of those statistics, and if we've had kids that have gone to the doctor, we've become intimately familiar with these kinds of numbers. But those of you that are nurses going for the TEAS exam, you have to know what these things are too, because you have to perform in a certain percentile to get accepted.
Of the average or whatever, 80?
Of what? That's
80% of
the
the
question.
average of
80% of what? Is it 80% of an average?
of American children.
That's the question. What is percentile defined to be? And Tim, believe it or not, it's defined differently depending on where you read. So, here is a headache. 100 weights. 100 weights of randomly selected 2-year-old white American males in pounds. Where is Max? He's in there. I made sure to put him in there. Where is he? Can you find him? You can say no, because that's a pain in the ass to look at. That is a pain to look at. It is almost impossible to identify Max in that block of data. He's in there, but how will we know where he is? First of all, I never told you how much he weighed. If I told you how much he weighed, it's like connect dots at that point.
I guess he's 29.
We're gonna guess 29. How come you guess that? That's accurate, Madeline. How 29? Guess.
Because he's in the 80th percentile, that means that 20% are above him.
Okay.
So he's not going to be 31. 30 seems like that might be a little bit too high too, so I guess 29.
I'm guessing, Madeline, at some point in time you picked up what a percentile was at some point in your either taking the kids to the pediatrician or just in your other studies. You know what a percentile is.
I actually took the ASVAB test when I was in high school, and
That's how they scored you. Yes, if you've ever taken a standardized test, they very often give you your results in percentile form versus your raw score. Good. Let's take 5. We're at 11. Let's take our 5. We'll come back and we're going to readdress what Madeline just said, because it's great, but I think there's a much more efficient way of looking at it than what you just put yourself through. Good. We'll come back and look at it.